Hey, thanks for joining me in the third installment of altering a Royal Regiment of Scotland kilt to fit its owner. I'm just at the point now where I'm ready to get into it. I've conferred with the client a couple of times to make sure he's signed off on everything, that I'm not conducting a hideous blunder, or at least ill-advised and such. So what we see here, this white line, is the line that I'm going to be reducing the kilt down from the top. This represents the natural waist. The yellow line here represents the new bottom of the fell. So as you can see, I'm going to have to sew each of the pleats. These X marks here are the center pleat. Now, one of the major factors is that we're retaining the Black Watch rosettes, and to that end, the width of the apron, the front apron, cannot change. So it is, when we reduce it to height, it's 20 inches at the waist and 21 at the hip, and that immediately made me prick up my ears, because that's the sort of gentle A-line that I prefer to do. When you see kilts with really profound A-lines where they've done this real origami folding sort of thing, I believe, it may not be true in all cases, but when we see it in old army kilts, from some video evidence that I've seen, and also from my own experience years and years and years ago, they tended to batch out the labor, so that apprentices or people would be doing one particular job. So you get people sewing the pleats uniformly, so that of however many kilts they were making, the width of the pleat at the waist and at the seat were the same. And then they did the tailoring by doing this really, occasionally quite dramatic A-line. But in this case, as I said, as soon as I saw 20 and 21, my antenna just sort of went up, because, hey, that is the proportions I would choose, because we need to keep these two rosettes centered on that black stripe. So then we look back at the pleats, and we've got 27 pleats, and at present, going down to the new waist, we have 16 and a half and 22. And I blew out the first pleat on either side to begin with anyhow, because I wanted to see what was going on inside. Because again, we need a deep apron pleat on either side for a couple of reasons. A, because it's better practice, it hangs better, it drapes better. But also, the first rule of tailoring, at least for kilt making, is just like the Hippocratic Oath: first do no harm. Because this fellow, to quote Shakespeare, is not a needle's talon in the waist. He would fit him in any alderman's thumb ring. Yeah, that's to say, he's got a 32 waist. I hate him for that. I won't have a 32 waist until they tuck me in with nails. In any case, not really. Anyhow, but we have to plan for, we want this kilt to last for the rest of his life, right? So when I blow out and create those two apron pleats, I'm not removing any cloth whatsoever. The cloth's going to be there against the day that his figure coarsens and thickens as he ages. So when I look at this, what I believe I have to do, what I know I have to do really, is I'm going to rob not one or two, but I'm going to rob 3 pleats from either side. And that will give me, at the waist, it'll give me a little over 12, and at the hip, it'll give me 18 on the dot. And when I saw that, I just stopped in, almost cold shivers, because that was the universe basically handing me the solution on a plate. Because based on the apron that we cannot change, if I take off 3 on either side, I get exactly the dimensions, the width that I need of each pleat at the waist and at the hip. Because if it didn't work like that, I would be faced with the prospect of what I call a profound alteration, where I pull the thing completely apart, press it flat, and then make up the pleats with new measurements, new widths at hip and waist. And I've done that many times before. It's not difficult, but it is a metric ton of work. So there we are for this side, right? It's going to look very well. Looking on the inside, again, there's my white line. There's the top of the kilt. There's where my new fell is going to be. And incidentally, when you're doing this for yourself, and you're measuring from a fixed point, because this point is not negotiable. I'm measuring everything from the bottom of the kilt. It's not hem, strictly speaking, it's a selvage edge, but measuring up to a fixed point. Now, were this white line, let's say, for example, I have chalk in my pocket, I can feel it. Let's say, for example, looking down here, let's say, for example, that my 23 inches was just a little bit proud, a little bit above that, the nearest element of the tartan, but that, I'd say within a quarter, maybe 3/8 of an inch at absolute most, I can shift down. So this is relatively trivial difference. So what I would do, without a flicker of shame, is I would adjust my measurement to where we see that on the white line, because again, it's within a quarter inch, never mind 3/8. Same thing when measuring down from the fell, measuring 8 inches down from the top, and it's just, we can't see it's kind of lost there because I've already made the mark, and I haven't done this particularly carefully because I did it rather quickly, because it's only there to guide me when I'm sewing the steeking in several steps time. So the same thing, if it was, in this case, I would say if it was no greater than a quarter inch, certainly not as much as 3/8, but if it's a little tiny difference, I feel my conscience is quite clear to move it down, just for reference's sake. What I will do on those occasions where the difference is a little bit greater, I'll go through my little box of gauges, and I'll find a gauge that matches. You can't quite see. Oh, I'll do it here because it's the lighter cloth. Let's say that my line was going to be like so. Rather than measure it every time with a measuring tape, I'm going to find a gauge. Now, this isn't the right gauge for this, but you get the point. I would find a gauge that allows me to measure down from a fixed point on the design and then make a mark there. It's a little trick. It's not earth-shattering, but anything we can do to reduce the chance of making a mistake, reading the wrong line, reading the wrong number, looking at the wrong line, just little tricks like that. Now, also when we look inside, I see it's been glued together a fair amount. When I say glue, it's the fusible interfacing. So I've yet to figure out, I may not be able to figure out exactly the procedure that they did to create these box pleats. I have my own method, which I'll show you again, because I've been asked. I'll try to reverse engineer what they've done. I may not be able to do so, but I'll give it a shot. But I'm going to tell you straight off, I'm not using any more. I've never used fusible interfacing, and I never will, just there. Fortunately, we can get rid of this just by the use of an iron and a clean piece of cloth. Run an iron across it, the glue will transfer to the cloth, easy peasy, done. So, and I do see one baste here, which tells me that somebody had done a back stitch with a baste to mark where the lower edge of the buttonhole would be. Okay, so I don't know why they would do that. Perhaps they were marking it and passing it off to someone else to do. But in any case, that'll disappear. So what I'm going to do again is I'm gonna get in here and try to see what the material looks like up above where I'm going to be putting my new buttonhole, because my new buttonhole is going to be all the way up here. It may well be if the cloth if the cloth isn't there, and to be fair, these people don't have to design with future alterations in mind, because that's not the contract and that's not the projected life of the kilt. But it may well be that if I get in there and I find that there isn't cloth to do a neat turn back, that I may, fortunately, see I've got all of this cloth up here, which has just become, I won't say surplus to requirements, but it's a reservoir for me to draw on. I can make my buckle tabs out of this, and if need be, if I have to graft a panel in the back, up here, if I need to graft a panel in the back to present a neat appearance when seen through the lining, well then so be it. So there we go. Incidentally, when I do this, another reason why I've unpicked the first seam is that when we reduce this to height, I'm going to make a little cut there with my scissors, and then I'm going to tear up to this point, because when we tear, we get a dead straight line, far straighter than I can do with scissors. So I'm going to tear to this point. I'm going to cut along here with my third best pair of scissors, because as I've said elsewhere, if you cut things like this, you develop a flat spot on the scissors, and then you have to, on the shears, and then you have to take them away to get sharpened. This has a flat spot, probably, almost certainly, because I've been doing this sort of thing for years and years. So this isn't my best pair of shears. My best gorgeous pair of shears are over there, and I've never mistreated them that way. But this is the, shall we say, the sacrificial set of shears, where I'm going to basically chew my way through. I mean, presenting a very neat line, but still doing, using the scissors in precisely the wrong way to get precisely the right effect, and then reaching this point, and then I will tear to the end. So that's about all I've got to say for now. So I can see that it's getting towards Friday. It's been a long and productive week. I think that I might lay the tools down, decree it to be beer o'clock in an hour or so, and then carry on tomorrow. As soon as I have something else to report, I'm sure you'll hear from me again. Thank you.